Are you drinking to satisfy your body or to silence your mind? The modern world has sold you a lie about thirst, a lie that promises energy in a can, happiness in a bottle, and health in a carton. But these promises are fleeting illusions, and they are not just costing you your physical health, they are costing you your freedom. We talk about blood sugar, about diabetes, about metabolic health. These are critical battlegrounds, but they are symptoms of a deeper war, the war for your mind, for your discipline, for your agency. The chaotic spikes and crashes in your blood are merely a physical reflection of a chaotic inner world ruled by impulse and reaction. Today, we are not just going to talk about what to drink. We are going to teach you how to think about what you drink. We will use the timeless operating system of the Stoics to reclaim control, starting with the simplest choice you make every single day. The first and most foundational principle comes from the philosopher Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the most revered thinkers in history. He taught the dichotomy of control. It is a simple but life-altering idea. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. The marketing budgets of multi-billion-dollar beverage companies are not up to us. The social pressure to drink what everyone else is drinking is not up to us. But the choice of what passes your lips, that is entirely and absolutely up to you. This is the first domain you must conquer. I remember my years in the tech industry. I lived a life of frantic reactivity. My days were a blur of meetings, deadlines, and putting out fires. My fuel? Cans of soda and so-called energy drinks from the office vending machine. I told myself I needed the sugar, the caffeine, the jolt. I equated that frantic, jittery rush with high performance. I was a fool. That sugar wasn't fuel. It was gasoline on the fire of my anxiety. The brief high was always followed by a soul-crushing crash that left my focus shattered and my mood irritable. My body was in a state of constant emergency, and so was my mind. My moment of clarity came not in a boardroom, but late one night, staring at my reflection in a dark monitor, a half-empty can of poison in my hand. I realized my entire empire was built on a foundation of sand, and that sand was the sugar I was pouring into my body. The first act of rebellion, the first step in rebuilding my mind, was to walk to the water cooler and fill a simple glass. This is where you must begin. With water. It is the symbol of clarity, of foundation, of truth. It offers no false promises. It simply sustains. I worked with a mentee, a brilliant CEO who was burning out. He was sharp in the morning, but by 3 p.m. he was useless, impatient, foggy, and making poor decisions. We audited his diet. He was consuming healthy, pressed juices for breakfast and elaborate, sweetened coffee drinks in the afternoon. He thought he was being virtuous. I had him make one change. For 2 weeks he could only drink water, black coffee, or unsweetened tea. The first few days were hell. His body, addicted to the sugar, screamed in protest. But then, a calm set in. His energy levels stabilized. His afternoon fog lifted. He didn't gain a superpower, he simply removed the kryptonite. He took control. He stopped outsourcing his energy regulation to a barista and started owning it himself. So, I ask you, what thirst are you really trying to quench with your daily drink choices? When you reach for that bottle, is it a conscious decision for hydration, or is it an unconscious reaction to stress, boredom, or fatigue? Your journey to an iron mind and a stable body begins with mastering this first, simple choice. Now that we have established our foundation, the conscious, deliberate choice to hydrate with water, we must turn our attention to the enemy. We must learn to see the battlefield for what it is and identify the forces that seek to enslave us through our own appetites. The Stoic philosopher Seneca warned against following the herd. He wrote, "Let us not follow the herd of beasts before us, for they lead us not where we ought to go, but where they are going." In the world of modern beverages, the herd is rushing toward a cliff of metabolic disease. And they are doing it with a smile on their face, holding a colorful can. The unseen enemy is the massive, pervasive, and incredibly deceptive presence of sugar in nearly everything we are encouraged to drink. I am talking about soda, sports drinks, sweetened iced teas, and most egregiously, fruit juices. These drinks are the siren song of modern convenience. They promise refreshment, energy, and even health. But they are Trojan horses. They deliver a payload of fructose and sucrose directly into your bloodstream, creating an inflammatory cascade, spiking your insulin, and paving the way for insulin resistance, the very precursor to diabetes. They are designed in laboratories to be hyper-palatable, to bypass your natural sense of fullness, and to create a craving for more. This is not a conspiracy theory, it is a business model. I learned this lesson the hard way in my career. There was a time my company landed a massive contract, the kind of deal that changes the trajectory of a business overnight. The celebration was immediate and extravagant. We ate rich food and drank expensive, sweet cocktails. I rode the wave of dopamine and sugar, feeling invincible. The next morning, I woke up with a physical and emotional hangover. That same day, due to a technicality we'd overlooked in our haste, the client invoked a clause and pulled the contract. The deal collapsed. The high I had felt the night before was shown to be completely artificial, a fleeting chemical reaction based on external events and sweetened poison. The crash was brutal. It taught me a profound lesson. I had allowed my internal state of well-being to be dictated by things outside of my control, and I was amplifying that mistake by using substances that created an equally artificial and unstable state within my own body. True strength, true success, is a calm, steady state, not a series of manic peaks and devastating troughs. Think of the modern fruit juice industry. It's a perfect real-world example of this deception. We are sold images of fresh-picked oranges, of wholesome, natural goodness. But what is most commercial fruit juice? It's sugar water. The fiber, the most important component for slowing sugar absorption, has been stripped away. It might as well be soda. A business that focuses only on top-line revenue, the sugar high, while ignoring its operational inefficiencies and debt, the lack of fiber and real nutrients, is doomed to fail. It looks successful for a quarter or two, but the crash is inevitable. Your body is the most important business you will ever run. You cannot afford to be fooled by these vanity metrics. So you must become a warrior, a guardian at the gates of your own body. Your mission is to identify and reject these sugary deceptions. This requires vigilance. It requires you to read labels. It requires you to question the defaults. It requires you to choose the harder path of unsweetened reality over the easy path of sweetened illusion. Ask yourself, where else in your life are you consuming liquid sugar, empty pleasures, mindless entertainment, or validation from the crowd that gives you a temporary high but leaves you weaker in the long run? Are you choosing what is popular and easy, or what is true and beneficial? Once you have cleared the field of its most obvious enemies, you can begin to cultivate allies. You can start to build rituals that fortify not just your body, but your mind. This is not about finding a magic health drink. It is about transforming the act of drinking into a practice of mindfulness and discipline. And our first ally in this practice is one of the most ancient and revered beverages in the world, green tea. The power of green tea isn't just in its impressive list of compounds like EGCG, which are known to improve insulin sensitivity and protect cells. Its true power, from a Stoic perspective, lies in the ritual that surrounds it. Preparing a cup of tea is an exercise in patience and presence. You heat the water, but not to a roaring boil. You steep the leaves, but only for a few minutes. It is a process of deliberate action, a small pocket of tranquility carved out of a chaotic day. This is the practice of prosoj, or mindfulness, the state of continuous vigilant attention to one's inner self. While the world screams for your attention with notifications and alarms, the ritual of tea calls you back to the present moment. In the height of my tech career, my mind was a whirlwind of future scenarios and past regrets. I was never here. I was always strategizing the next launch or replaying a failed negotiation. My anxiety was a constant companion. When I began my transformation, I replaced my second pot of coffee in the afternoon with a simple green tea ceremony. I use that word intentionally. It wasn't just about drinking tea, it was about the 5 minutes it took me to prepare it. In that time, I did nothing else. I focused on the sound of the water, the aroma of the leaves, the warmth of the cup. This small act became an anchor in my day. It was a deliberate downshift, a way of training my mind to detach from the frantic energy of the workplace and reconnect with a state of calm focus. That calm, it turned out, was where my best ideas came from. I was a better strategist, a better leader when I was centered, not caffeinated to the point of combustion. Consider a mentee of mine, a lawyer. Her life is adversarial by nature. She spends her days in conflict, a high-stakes environment of argument and stress. She used to manage this stress with wine in the evenings, a common but destructive pattern. We worked on replacing that habit. We substituted the wine ritual with a decaffeinated herbal tea ritual. At first, she scoffed. How is a cup of mint tea going to replace a glass of Chardonnay? But she tried it. The point wasn't the liquid, it was the creation of a new pattern to signal to her brain that the workday was over. She would choose her tea, boil the water, and sit in silence for 10 minutes while she drank it. It became her new demarcation line. It was an act of consciously washing away the stress of the day, rather than numbing it. Her sleep improved, her morning focus returned, and her anxiety lessened. She replaced an act of escape with an act of presence. This is the power available to you. Whether it is green tea for its gentle energy, or chamomile and other herbal teas in the evening to prepare for rest, you can transform a simple drink into a tool for mental architecture. The drink itself, with its health benefits, is a bonus. The real prize is the practice. So, as you move through your day, ask yourself, are my actions deliberate rituals that build strength, or are they mindless habits that create weakness? How can I transform a routine necessity, like drinking, into a conscious practice of building a better mind? The path to a resilient mind and a healthy body is not paved with comfort. It is often the things we find distasteful, the things that challenge our palate and our will, that provide the greatest benefit. Our modern culture has conditioned us to seek sweetness in all things, but the Stoics knew that true fortitude is forged in voluntary hardship. This is the principle of embracing discomfort for growth, and it applies directly to the choices we make in what we drink. This brings us to two powerful, if challenging, allies: black coffee and bitter melon. Let's start with coffee. For many, coffee is simply a vehicle for milk and sugar. It's a dessert masquerading as a productivity tool. But coffee, in its pure, unadulterated form, is a bitter, complex substance. Consumed black, its benefits are remarkable. The chlorogenic acids it contains have been shown to play a significant role in glucose metabolism and improving insulin sensitivity. But more than that, learning to drink coffee black is an act of discipline. It's a small, daily decision to choose function over empty pleasure. It is training your palate, and by extension your mind, to not require a sweet reward for every action. Then there is the even more potent and far more challenging example: bitter melon. In many cultures, it's known as a powerful food for managing blood sugar. Juiced or made into a tea, it is intensely bitter. It is not pleasant, it is medicinal. And this is precisely the point. The Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils, involves visualizing hardship to strip it of its power. A related practice is voluntary discomfort, choosing to do hard things to build your resilience. Eating or drinking something that is good for you but tastes challenging is a perfect, manageable form of this practice. It's a declaration to your primal brain that you, your rational mind, are in control. You are choosing long-term health over momentary pleasure. Each sip is a repetition, a workout for your willpower. I remember the first time I truly understood this. I was on a business trip in Japan with a potential partner, a much older, traditional gentleman. He took me to a very old restaurant. Everything we ate was subtle, and some of it was quite bitter. I was used to the hyper-palatable, salt and sugar-laden foods of the West. At one point, he served me a dark, bitter tea I'd never had. My instinct was to grimace, but I looked at him, and he was drinking it with such serene focus. I realized in that moment that my palate was like a spoiled child, demanding only what was easy and sweet. His was the palate of an adult, capable of appreciating a wider, more complex spectrum of tastes. It was a metaphor for my whole life. I had been avoiding the necessary bitterness of reality, always seeking the next sugar high. I drank the tea. It was a small act, but it was a turning point. It was the beginning of me learning to embrace the things that were difficult but necessary. Think of it in a business context. The most valuable work is often the most tedious. No one enjoys doing expense reports, reviewing legal documents, or having difficult conversations with underperforming employees. The temptation is to avoid it, to procrastinate, to do the easy, sweet tasks first. But a great leader does the hard things. They tackle the bitter tasks because they know that is where true progress and health for the organization lie. Your body is no different. You must be the leader who makes the unpopular but correct decision. So, the question for you is not simply, can I stomach this? But, am I willing to endure a small, chosen discomfort for a greater, long-term gain? Can you learn to appreciate the robust bitterness of black coffee as a tool for focus? Are you willing to introduce something truly challenging, like a bitter melon tea, as a radical act of self-discipline? Your answer will reveal how ready you are to stop being a comfort seeker and start being the architect of your own strength. Great strength is rarely the result of a single heroic act. It is the product of small, consistent disciplines compounded over time. A fortress is not built in a day, it is built one stone at a time. In the same way, building an unbreakable inner citadel and a resilient physical body depends on the small, wise choices you make daily. This brings us to the subtle but powerful world of spices, specifically when infused into our drinks. Think of cinnamon and turmeric. These are not overwhelming flavors but consistent allies that fortify your system from within. Let's talk about cinnamon. For centuries, it has been more than just a pleasant flavor. It is a potent medicinal spice. Modern science has confirmed what ancient wisdom knew. Compounds in cinnamon can mimic insulin and increase glucose uptake by your cells, thereby helping to lower blood sugar levels. A simple cinnamon stick steeped in hot water or added to tea is a small act of metabolic defense. It is a quiet warrior working on your behalf. This is the Stoic principle of paying attention to small things. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, wrote extensively in his meditations about governing his own thoughts and actions with meticulous care. He understood that the character of a man is the sum of his daily habits. Adding a pinch of cinnamon to your drink is a micro-habit, but it is a vote for your future self. It is a quiet declaration. I care about the details of my well-being. Then there is turmeric, the golden spice that contains curcumin, a compound with powerful anti-inflammatory properties. Chronic inflammation is a key driver of insulin resistance and many other modern diseases. A warm, unsweetened golden milk made with almond milk, turmeric, a pinch of black pepper, and perhaps a little cinnamon and ginger is a profoundly calming and fortifying ritual. It is an act of actively soothing your system, of reducing the physiological noise so your body can function optimally. Inflammation is the body's response to stress, injury, and poor diet. It is a state of emergency. By consuming anti-inflammatory spices, you are telling your body, The crisis is over. You can stand down, you can heal. This has a direct parallel to the mind. The Stoic goal is to achieve a state of apatheia, not apathy, but a state free from disturbing passions and irrational emotional responses. Turmeric calms the body's inflammation. Stoic practice calms the mind's inflammation. I had a mentee, a young startup founder who was running on pure adrenaline and cortisol. He was perpetually inflamed, mentally and physically. He had skin problems, digestive issues, and his temper was short. He saw these as separate problems. I saw them as one. His entire system was in a state of chronic, low-grade emergency. We implemented a shutdown ritual for him. An hour before bed, all screens went off. He would prepare a warm mug of golden milk and read from a physical book, usually philosophy. He thought it was ridiculous at first. But after a few weeks, the change was undeniable. His skin cleared up. His mood stabilized. He was less reactive in meetings. The golden milk wasn't a magic cure. The ritual was the cure. It was a deliberate act of down-regulation. He was, stone by stone, building a fortress of calm in his life, and the spice was one of the first, most tangible stones. In your professional life, this is the equivalent of doing a daily review. It's the small habit of writing down tomorrow's priorities before you leave the office. It doesn't feel like a monumental task, but compounded over a year, it creates an unstoppable level of organization and focus. The small spice is the daily review. The fortified system is the successful career. So ask yourself, what small, consistent actions am I taking to fortify my inner and outer world? Am I dismissing the power of the pinch of cinnamon in my life, looking instead for a grand, dramatic solution that will never come? True change happens at the margins, in the consistent application of small wisdom. Our internal world is a complex ecosystem. Just as a nation's stability depends on the health and cooperation of its citizens, your physical and mental health depend on the thriving ecosystem within your gut, your microbiome. The trillions of bacteria living in your digestive tract are not passive passengers, they are active participants in your health, influencing everything from digestion and immunity to mood and, critically, blood sugar regulation. To cultivate a healthy inner world, we must introduce beneficial citizens. This brings us to the power of fermented drinks. We will focus on 3 key allies: apple cider vinegar, kefir, and kombucha. Each works in a slightly different way, but all contribute to the Stoic ideal of a well-ordered internal state. Let's begin with apple cider vinegar. The acetic acid in ACV has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity and significantly lower blood sugar responses during a meal. A simple practice is to dilute 1 or 2 tablespoons of raw, unfiltered ACV in a glass of water and drink it before a meal. This is a strategic intervention. It is like a general preparing his troops before a battle. You are preparing your body to handle the incoming carbohydrates. It is a proactive, not a reactive, measure. It is a testament to the Stoic idea of forethought and preparation. Then we have kefir, a fermented milk drink, and kombucha, a fermented tea. Both are rich in probiotics, the beneficial bacteria that form a healthy gut microbiome. A healthy gut lining is crucial. When it's compromised, inflammatory compounds can leak into your bloodstream, contributing to systemic inflammation and insulin resistance. By regularly consuming probiotic-rich drinks, you are constantly reinforcing the integrity of your inner defenses. It is like regularly training and equipping your city guard. A strong guard prevents internal chaos and repels invaders. However, a word of caution, which is in itself a Stoic lesson in discernment. You must choose your ferments wisely. Many commercial kombuchas are loaded with added sugar to make them more palatable, which completely defeats the purpose. You are inviting in a Trojan horse filled with the very enemies you seek to defeat. You must read the labels. You must choose the low-sugar, authentic versions. This is a perfect metaphor for life. You must be discerning about the ideas and people you allow into your mind. Not all that appears wise or beneficial truly is. I recall a period of intense stress after a major product launch failed. The pressure had been immense, and I had neglected my health. My digestion was a mess, and my mind was foggy and indecisive. I felt chaotic inside. A mentor of mine, older and wiser, didn't give me business advice. He told me to go home and make sauerkraut. I thought he was mad, but I did it. The process of fermenting the cabbage, this slow, natural transformation, was incredibly grounding. I then moved on to making my own kefir. Focusing on cultivating these living cultures was a powerful metaphor. I wasn't just fixing my gut, I was practicing the art of cultivating a healthy ecosystem. As my physical digestion improved, so did my mental digestion. I could process ideas more clearly. My anxiety, which I had thought was purely psychological, was profoundly connected to the chaos in my gut. I learned that you cannot have an ordered mind in a disordered body. Think about the culture of a company. A healthy corporate culture is a probiotic. It fosters collaboration, resilience, and growth. A toxic culture filled with gossip and blame is like bad bacteria. It creates inflammation, drains energy, and leads to systemic failure. As a leader, you must actively cultivate the good culture and starve the bad. You must be the ferment that introduces positive change. So, I ask you, are you actively cultivating your internal ecosystem? Are you consuming things that strengthen your defenses, or are you carelessly allowing inflammatory agents, be they foods, media, or people, to compromise your inner citadel? True sovereignty begins with governing your own internal territory. There is a profound power in self-sufficiency. The modern world encourages dependency. We are taught to buy pre-packaged solutions for every problem, to outsource our health and well-being to corporations. But the Stoic path is one of agency and empowerment. It teaches us to rely on our own reason and our own hands. This brings us to the final category of drinks, the simple elixirs you can craft yourself. This is not about becoming a master herbalist. It is about embracing the mindset of the creator, not just the consumer. The simplest and most effective of these is lemon water. A squeeze of fresh lemon in water does more than just add flavor. The citric acid can have a modest but helpful effect on blunting the glycemic response to a meal, and it promotes hydration by making water more appealing. But its real value is psychological. The act of slicing a lemon and squeezing it into your glass is a small, conscious act of self-care. It is a ritual that says, I am an active participant in my own health. It is a world away from the passive, mindless act of twisting a cap off a plastic bottle. From there, you can explore the world of homemade herbal infusions. This is far simpler than it sounds. You can buy loose-leaf herbs like peppermint, ginger, hibiscus, or rooibos. Peppermint and ginger are fantastic for digestion. Hibiscus tea has been shown to have a positive effect on blood pressure and contains compounds that can inhibit sugar absorption. Rooibos is a naturally sweet-tasting, caffeine-free tea from South Africa, rich in antioxidants. Making an infusion is as simple as steeping the herbs in hot water for a few minutes. You can make a large pitcher and keep it in the refrigerator for a refreshing, healthy drink. In doing so, you control every ingredient. There are no hidden sugars, no natural flavors, no preservatives. There is only what you choose to put in. This is the ultimate expression of the dichotomy of control. I once worked with a young engineer who was brilliant but completely disconnected from his physical self. He lived on takeout food and canned drinks. His health was deteriorating, and his work was suffering. He saw cooking and food preparation as an inefficient waste of time. I gave him a challenge. I didn't ask him to change his entire diet. I asked him to do one thing, make his own iced tea every day for a month. I gave him a simple recipe, hibiscus and mint. He resisted, but he did it. The first week, it was a chore. The second week, he started experimenting, adding a slice of ginger. By the third week, he was telling me about the different types of mint he'd found. He hadn't just learned to make tea, he had re-established a connection between his actions and their outcomes. He was taking raw ingredients and creating something beneficial. This small spark of agency began to spread to other areas of his life. He started cooking simple meals. He started taking pride in caring for his body. The act of making his own drink was the catalyst that reminded him he was in charge of his own life. This is the mindset of a true architect. An architect doesn't just buy a prefabricated house. They study the terrain, they choose the materials, they draw the blueprint. They build with intention. You must become the architect of your own health. When you create your own simple drinks, you are drawing a blueprint for your well-being. You are choosing every stone, every beam. The resulting structure is strong because you built it with care and intention. Ask yourself this: in what areas of my life have I become a passive consumer instead of an active creator? Where have I outsourced my responsibility for my own well-being? Reclaiming your power can start today, with something as simple as a lemon and a glass of water. We have journeyed through a landscape of choices, from the foundational truth of water to the deceptive allure of sugar, from the mindful ritual of tea to the disciplined embrace of bitterness. We have discussed spices, ferments, and the power of self-sufficiency. But if you walk away from this discussion with only a list of good and bad drinks, you will have missed the entire point. The drinks are not the lesson. They are merely the tools for practice. The true lesson is this: your body is the physical manifestation of your philosophy. The state of your metabolic health is a direct report on the quality of your choices, the discipline of your mind, and the clarity of your purpose. The ultimate goal is not to have perfect blood sugar. The ultimate goal is to achieve what the Stoics called eudaimonia, a state of human flourishing, of living in accordance with virtue and reason. A healthy body is not the goal itself, but a vital prerequisite for pursuing that goal. It is difficult to be a good parent, a strong leader, or a clear thinker when you are trapped in a cycle of energy crashes, brain fog, and chronic disease. By taking command of what you consume, you are not just managing a physical condition, you are liberating your mind to perform its true function. Every choice is a vote. A can of soda is a vote for reactivity, for momentary pleasure, for being a slave to your most primitive impulses. A glass of water is a vote for clarity. A cup of green tea is a vote for mindful presence. A shot of apple cider vinegar is a vote for proactive strategy. When you consistently cast votes for discipline, reason, and long-term well-being, you are not just building a healthier body, you are forging an iron mind. You are proving to yourself, on a daily basis, that you are the one in command. I no longer think of food and drink in terms of good and bad. I think in terms of functional and dysfunctional. Does this choice serve my ultimate purpose? Does it move me closer to the man I wish to be, or does it drag me back into the chaos of reactivity? This is the operating system that runs in the background of every decision. It simplifies everything. The choice becomes obvious, not because of a diet rule, but because of a life rule. This is my challenge to you. Do not simply make a list of drinks to try. Instead, take one principle we have discussed today and turn it into a practice for 1 week. Maybe you will eliminate all sugary drinks, embracing the unseen enemy principle. Maybe you will begin a daily tea ritual, practicing mindfulness. Maybe you will start every day with a glass of lemon water, reclaiming your role as a creator. Choose one. The specific action is less important than the intention behind it. Use it as a training ground for your will. Observe your resistance. Observe the cravings. Observe your mind making excuses. And then, calmly and deliberately, choose otherwise. This is how you build an inner citadel that no external force can breach. It is not built with grand gestures, but with the quiet, consistent victory of 1,000 small choices. The battle for your health is the battle for your mind. Win the battle in your glass, and you will be one step closer to winning the war for your soul.